Welcome, everyone, to a Thursday episode of the Call Sheet Daily Podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Smith, here at the Fans First Sports Network. And today's our Whiteboard Wednesday show. I know it's Thursday. We kind of swapped our days this week. Yesterday, we did State of the Franchise with Brian Anthony Davis, talked about the Jacksonville Jaguars. Today, we're doing Whiteboard Wednesday, even though it is Thursday. And I'm going to have a really interesting guest to talk about a topic I think a lot of coaches will be very interested in. We're going to talk about the transient nature of coaching and how coaches learn to transition from job to job and establish themselves in new programs. That's a story that most coaches are familiar with. And my guest today, Zach Davis, is the assistant principal now at Queens Anne County High School in Maryland, but he is a longtime head coach in the state of Maryland who has successfully navigated these waters for many years. And I'll bring in Coach Davis now. Welcome, Coach, to the show.
Yeah, it's good to be here. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Your story's a really interesting one. You've been very successful at many different schools. And, you know, I'm the exception. I was telling Zach before we went on air that I'm the exception. I did 33 years at Ocean City High School and never left and coached for 30 of them. But that's not a normal story. So Coach, give us your bio, your background, and take us through your journey a little bit.
Oh man, well, first of all, thanks for having me on. This is awesome. It's cool to be on somebody else's podcast. This is really
Yeah.
really cool to have a good conversation. Yeah, man, geez. So it starts Jacksonville, Florida, 2009. I just finished playing at Liberty University. I was offensive lineman back then, and I got to University Christian School. And man, my story begins with, like, my first two teaching and coaching jobs, I was the victim of budget cuts. That was, we're in the recession back then, and they were like, "Hey, man, we love you. Here's a letter of reference, but you don't have a job. Like, your job's gone." So it starts you with that, and then I had to figure out, like, is this what I want to do long term? So I went and got some education. I got fully certified, then went and got a master's degree. So I started like as an O-line coach, so I transitioned to a defensive coordinator, and then I became a head coach in the year 2015. I took over a program that went 0-10 the year before, lost by like 40 points a game, and by the end of my time there, we were competing for a playoff spot. Like, if we won our last game, we would have gotten in. We didn't win the last game. Them having Brenton Strange, who's playing in the NFL as a tight end, was a big part of that. They beat us by like a score. But then took over a couple different programs in West Virginia. I was a head coach 3 different spots. And then we moved to Maryland. I thought I would be the head coach at Kent Island High School for a long time. But after a year, assistant principal job came open. And, I've been assistant principal before. I like doing that work. I was assistant principal and a head football coach, but for the time being, I can't do both here in Maryland. But yeah, it's been a fun ride. Just kind of take it as it comes, and just looking forward to what's going to happen next.
Yeah, let's talk about that first job. You were not very old. How old were you when you got that first head coaching job?
Oh gosh, 29 years old. Yeah, that was eye-opening. I came from a program where we had just played in the state championship game in the state of Georgia. I was defensive coordinator, and I saw the job on Football Scoop, Riverside High School in West Virginia. My wife's family is from Maryland. We're adventurous folks, and said, "Hey, let's go try this." And we did, and I thought we did a really good job building it there, and just some challenges there that it's hard to overcome. But I thought we maxed out what we had there.
29 years old, taking over an 0-10 program. I mean, you're nothing if not ambitious, Coach.
I think I am. It's probably to a fault. Thinking that I think all coaches have this quality. Like, we think we can make it better, and we did. We did some really good things, and that program. I still talk to people who were coaching there, who are around that area. Really, really cool people, and really made some good friendships there.
What drove your decision to leave? Was it necessity, or did you see a better opportunity?
Man, that's a good question. It is. I think at different places I've been at and I've left, it's it's usually a combination of, I think that we've maxed this out. Like, I don't think we could do any better than what we've done. And traditionally, when I look back at the programs that I've been the head coach of, that's true. They've kind of got the record-wise, kind of got to where we were, but then they would fall back. And that's just one of those things is like, okay, I didn't think it could get any better. And then you're trying to push to make things better. You're trying to implement some things, and every school has its limit. Like, I think, especially in high school, like certain schools are going to be okay, certain schools are going to be good. And I like taking over programs that are really struggling and trying to make them as competitive as possible. And then, I thought, hey, this is as good as we can be. And I think this day and age, people want you to go 10-0, right? Like, they want you to go win state championship. And I think at least me as a coach, knowing like, I don't think we can do that here. Like, there's a missing piece here, and so it's kind of better to get out when you're liked before I think you kind of outstay your welcome.
So for coaches who are listening, who may have some similar considerations, like what are some of the things that you really have to look at in the program where you are to make that determination? Like when you say, hey, I don't know if we could get any better. Well, what are some of the factors that go into reaching that conclusion?
Man, I think schedule is a big part of that. I think a lot of times, like, hey, what's our classification look like? What's our conference look like? What does my talent look like coming in, right? Your middle school, your youth league. What kind of jobs does your area have? Those are things that, when I take over programs, I'm looking at that, but then I'm thinking, okay, we can maximize it in probably year 2, year 3, and again, you're looking at all these different factors. And then you're also your administration, like how's that relationship going, and just kind of trying to figure out, okay, do I keep plugging in here, trying to work through it, or do I, see if there's a better opportunity elsewhere?
I think the administrative part, it's interesting. Now you kind of are an administrator, so yeah. But the administrative part is one of I think the under the radar things, or the underrated aspects of taking over a program, because you don't necessarily, you think, especially when you're younger, you think about X and O's. You think about your players and recruiting and your boosters, and you might think about the weight room. But the degree to which you will be supported by the administration, whether it's with interaction with parents or funding or their help promoting you in the community, et cetera, that's just sort of one of those hidden aspects of a job, I think, that maybe you don't realize before you've ever become a head coach. Would you say that's true in your experience?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's the truth. Like, that's when you see coaches leave places, a lot of times that's an underlying reason. Not that it wasn't one of my stops, but the other ones, no. It was just, I think there's a better opportunity elsewhere. And I think, like you said, we were talking about, like, I think people, like before the podcast, like people don't have like as much patience as they used to have. So like, I think as a coach too, what I saw was like after my 3rd year, like, hey, our talent level is not what it was. And then like, we're going to take a serious step back and just kind of thinking to myself, hey, do I really want to go through the building process again? Because like we were 0-10 or 1-9, like all the programs I've taken over except Ken Island were like 0 or 1 win programs. And when you build it to where you're winning more games, it's kind of, for me at least, it's hard to be like, man, I don't want to go back to winning like 0-1. Like that's a tough deal for me at least.
Yeah. That's an honest response. That really is, and I appreciate that, because it's true. It absolutely is true, especially when you've had success. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because the building is hard. I took over a program that was coming off of back-to-back 2-8 seasons. We hadn't won a playoff game in over a decade, and we didn't have success right out of the gate. I mean, we struggled my first 3 or 4 years, and I made some mistakes along the way. And fortunately, I had a patient enough administration that gave me the opportunity to grow, and then we wound up building something pretty great. Our program's been in the playoffs 8 straight years. I can't imagine going back to being a 2-win team, because it'd feel devastating. And so I understand that the idea of winning is important. When you move on, though, right? You've got to, you were there for a while at that first job. You probably built some bonds in the community. How hard is the leaving part?
Well, that's the toughest. I mean, especially when you build those relationships with the kids, with your administration, with your teachers, But you got to do what's best for you, like you think professionally, and that's something. I'm looking at a picture actually behind the computer of a kid I coached at the second place I was the head coach, and man, just great kid. That kid was, and when I left there, same thing. But I think when you're honest with people and they know you're genuine, like obviously it's emotional, but I think people still can. I mean, at least in my experience, people are like, okay, I understand. Like I understand you're doing this for whatever reasons it is for you, and yeah, once you get past the original, like, oh my gosh, coach, I can't believe you're leaving. They get over it. They're kids, and they'll find another coach, and that's been something that I've found to be true. If you're just a good, honest person with it, as you are the coach, then people will respect your decision usually.
Mm-hmm. So talk to me about now the transition into a new job. You arrive in a new place. Where do you start, Coach? You got an awful lot, obviously, now that you have to tackle. What does that process of now beginning to reestablish yourself in a new place look like?
Oh man, that's the bulk of the work there. I would say that is where you're meeting the players, you're meeting the coaches, and I've said I think the most important people you recruit are the assistant coaches, because that is who is going to talk either well of you to the players or negatively of you to the players. And so in my experience, I've always tried to recruit the assistant coaches and help them to understand, hey, I'm here for the program. I'm here to help us take a step forward, use the things we've used in the past, and then let's add some new things to try to build this to make it a better program. And then I always just want to leave it better than I found it. And that's been my thing is like, hey, let's build this to where it's much better than it was. And then you do that by relationships. It's all relationships, right? With assistant coaches, the players, the community. And I just think if you're genuine, that's easy, right? If people can tell if you're faking, like really fast. And I think that's where, I guess it's just my personality. What you see is what you get. And I'm usually pretty calm. So I mean, people like, here it is. Here's the plan. Here's what we're going to do. And let's just go do it. And usually when you take over programs that are really struggling, they're not doing basic things well or at all. So you can make them better pretty quickly if you just do simple things over and over and over again and do them well.
What's an example of that, Coach? Like, are we talking about weight room? Are we talking about just discipline, culture, all the above?
All the above. Discipline, weight room, were they lifting weights, right? Were they practicing efficiently or effectively? And one of the things I've found is if a program is really struggling and you look at their roster and you go, oh, like they're pretty decent. I think when a team has used scheme that doesn't match their personnel and it's like really glaring that does not fit, you can make big jumps pretty quickly. Like if they've been in the weight room, their practice plan's okay, but like, man, they're a spread team and they have no receivers. Hey, that was a bad decision. Let's not do that. Let's go to a more traditional, conservative, whatever you want to say, style of offense. And then we can have some better success. Like, are we winning every game? No, but it's not 55-0 because you're throwing the ball all over the place. It's incomplete, and then the clock's not running. So you can become more competitive pretty quickly if you just have a scheme that fits your personnel a little better.
As you've gone from school to school, I don't know the answer to this, but have you been in a lot of different environments, whether they're socioeconomic or in terms of the makeup of the kids, et cetera? And if you've moved from one that's very different to the other, how flexible have you found yourself having to be in order to adapt to that new environment?
Yeah, I've coached at schools that are as poor can get. And then last year at Kent Island High School, that's one of the most affluent areas probably in the state of Maryland. But I think people are people, right? So you're trying to help people perform to the best of their ability. And your leadership style, at least I feel like my leadership style, is flexible enough to meet people where they are. But then you're coaching football, right? So when you get on the field, that's the easy part, right? You're coaching X's and O's. You're practice. You're looking at scheme. But then the off the field is, hey, what you have to think, or at least I think to myself, like, what works for us? Because when you're in that interview process, people will ask, what are you going to do for fundraising? And I usually turn the question back and ask the question, well, what has worked for this program? Because one of the beautiful things about high school football is different models that are pretty different from each other can work at different spots. So I've been at places that were like rural Appalachia, and we had like a gun raffle during the season. And that raised funds for us, right? That gained support. Now, that doesn't work everywhere. Not everywhere can do that.
Yeah, I don't think I could do that at my high school, Coach.
Right, yeah. But I mean, like, we were rural Appalachia. So, but then I go to a place like Kent Island, and it's a different style, right? But it's still, we still want to play hard-nosed, physical, tough football. And it's just, how do we make that work at our school? And I think that's the trick, if you're going to be a coach that coaches at different spots, is how do I stay true to myself but have enough flexibility to get along with all the stakeholders in my program.
Interesting. I want to double back for a second, because you brought up assistant coaches. In the state of New Jersey, I don't know how it is in Maryland or West Virginia, but in the state of New Jersey, this is not probably going to come as a shock to you, the pay to be an assistant high school coach is not exactly lucrative. Mm-hmm. And so you combine that with just the difficulty of finding individuals who are free between 3 and 5:30 in the afternoon.
Right.
And it's tough, man. It's really tough trying to attract quality coaches. So as you've gone from job to job, has that been a significant struggle for you, or have you been fortunate to inherit some staffs where people were willing to stay on even though you were new as the head coach?
Yeah, I've been blessed. I've been at places where people stayed, and I think a lot of that is because that's the group I'm paying the most attention to. Is like, hey man, I'm new. I've had to move to take a couple jobs, and I'm going to need your help to make this go. And I think they have to feel like they're important, because they are, right? It's not a sales job. It's, you are going to run this program until I can get there. Because, you get hired in the middle of the school year or after Christmas break or whenever that is. And then you're not going to be there until the summer. So it's, hey, here's the weight program, here's the process. I need you to help me build this. Now, do some guys leave? Sure. That's the nature of the business. But I've been blessed to have guys that want to stay and want to coach. And it's finding what makes them tick, right? So what are they like schematically or in the weight room, and taking some of their ideas and using them. Because I think people will stay if they feel like they can have some input. And that's something I've tried to do when I've transitioned into a new job.
Yeah, that's a big point. Let your coaches coach, because they're there to be coaches, and that's I think a huge part of it. What's the most exciting part for you when I think you alluded to it a little bit, the idea of taking over a program that hasn't been successful, the challenge maybe of turning it into a successful one. What are some of the other things that are really exciting about inheriting a new program?
Oh man, it's like buying a used car. Like, you got to open up the hood and see what's underneath, right? And it's going through all the different parts of it. And I really enjoy that. I don't have any other hobbies. Like, I just do football, which is interesting now that I'm like not doing football. But it's just it's the relationship piece. I love people. I'm a people person, and it's cool trying to help people maximize their ability, whether that's a coach, whether that's a player, and just trying to help them become the best that they can be. And if you can do that for each individual, then your team's going to be okay. And one day, if I'm blessed to take over a program again, I would like to stay for a while. I was going to stay at Ken Island for a while, but this, the assistant principal job came open, and wasn't something I could pass up. But I think it's cool to see people improve, and then they realize, like, oh, wow, like, I didn't think I could be this good. And then it's cool to do that. You can do it quickly too. Like, you give them some tools, they can accomplish some things maybe they didn't think they could accomplish. Like, I remember at Riverside, we beat a team by like 20 points, and one of the kids was like, "Coach, I never thought we could score this many points." And you're like, you know what? That's pretty cool. Like, that's pretty cool, because what he thought was, we're always going to lose. And then when you can turn that around, it's cool to see their mindset shift.
One of the things about both teaching and coaching that people who don't do it miss out on is just what you were talking about. The notion that you're going to take somebody who didn't believe in themselves or didn't believe they could do a thing and help them get to a place where they can. And you're going to know that they're then going to take the confidence or the lesson that they learned from that experience with them for the rest of their life. And maybe they'll be able to use it in other endeavors. There's a value to that you can't put a dollar sign on. You can't even really quantify it and explain it to somebody the way that it feels. So I'm with you, man. The satisfaction of helping other people. And we're all, let's be honest. As coaches, we're all kind of ego-driven. We want to succeed ourselves. Mm-hmm. But if you're not in it for other people, you're in it for the wrong reasons.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's a people business, and we're trying to help other people become successful.
Yeah. So what would be this? If for coaches who are listening, or just coaches in general, who were contemplating, perhaps leaving a job, taking another job, maybe it's a better opportunity, whatever it might be. What's your best advice for them in terms of, what they're going to need to succeed?
Man, somebody told me this a long time ago. Be yourself, because if you're somebody else in that interview, they're going to hire that person, and then you're going to be miserable. So be yourself, and if that fits with what that community wants, or what that interview committee wants, then it's going to be it's going to turn out pretty well. And then as you work in that job, if you're fortunate enough to get that job, be yourself. Don't try to be somebody else, because they hired you. And I think one thing I've seen, like when I talk to other coaches, or watch other programs from afar, I think when things go off the rails is a coach tries to be somebody he's not. And be yourself. Like, if they fire you for being yourself, fine. Like, that's fine. That's cool. I mean, it's not fine. It does stink, but at least you're being true to yourself and who you are. And obviously be a learner, right? Learn new things. Try to do what's best for your community at all times. And I think if you do that, I think things work out well, right? If you're doing the things that are the best for your football program, for the community you're in, you care about them, you're doing all the work you can to help them succeed. And I think in the end, regardless of the W's and L's, I think it'll be a success.
Amen to that, Coach. I mean, I really feel as though you are. I can see why you've been successful, man. That approach is honest and forthright and sound, and I think it's great advice. But hey, before we get out of here, this has been a great conversation. I want to give you a chance to talk about the podcast you do here at Fans First Sports Network, Mind of a Football Coach. What's going on over there with your show, Coach?
Oh, man, Mind of a Football Coach. It started, 2017. I wanted to write a book, then I thought, that's way too much work. Like, I had to edit and be on a computer typing. So I just started the podcast, and it's all over the place. I mean, it's football, it's philosophy, it's just like a friend of mine talking about education. So it's called Mind of a Football Coach, but it kind of hits on a bunch of different things. I enjoy doing it, and it's been cool to be able to get to talk to people that I never thought I'd be able to talk to. Like what a recent one is JT Curtis down at John Curtis Christian School in Louisiana. Him and his son came on. I've had a couple different people on. They have coached college football, and it's just been fun. It's been cool to reach out to send somebody a cold email, and then they get back and say, "Hey, I want to do this." And I think it's just cool to talk to people, and it does. And for coaches out there that maybe want to improve their interview skills, it's something that, start your own podcast or go on podcast, because it does help with those skills to be able to articulate what you're trying to say to an audience.
Excellent. Great advice, Coach. I really appreciate this conversation. Learned a lot. That was very interesting. Thanks so much for coming on.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and good luck with whatever's next. I'm sure you got another chapter to write in your football coaching career.
Thank you, Coach. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. All right, that's our Call Sheet Daily for Thursday. Join me tomorrow. It's our Hot Route conversation with Pez from Pez's Picks, conversations about football and life. And that's been a great show for us. So join us tomorrow. Until then, hope everybody has a great day. Take care.